Welcome everybody that's accepted to the MSW program. It's very exciting. I was actually saying to Dr. Pipenbring earlier tonight at our webinar that this group of students has seemed so eager and excited to be applying to this program, and you all have seemed so like interested and eager, and it's been great working with everybody. So I just want to introduce myself and the grad admissions team, and then Dr. Bipenbring can take over. But my name is Morgan Hicks. I work in the graduate admissions office. And our team consists of Carrie, who's our director, Michelle, who's our assistant director, and then Jordan, who is our grad assistant. She's a school psychology student in her second year, and she works in our office. And so some of the things that we're going to be going over today, Dr. Pipenbring is going to introduce you to the faculty, and I'm sure the faculty will introduce themselves as well. And she'll also be going over the different pathways for the program. And then we'll be talking about some of your next steps and cost and fees. And we'll go over some funding opportunities, which some of them have already passed by, but I'm still just going to mention them. And then some services that are available for grad students as well. So I'll give it over to Dr. Pipenbring.
Thank you, Morgan. Yeah, again, welcome everybody. I want to echo what Morgan said. It's been really energizing to experience, your enthusiasm and your energy and just how eager you all are. So that's wonderful. Congratulations again. And on behalf of all of our faculty, we're really excited to be with you on this journey and to be supports for you along the way. So again, I'm Julie Pipenbring. I'm an assistant professor with the social work program and the MSW program director. I've had an opportunity to have some communication with some of you. Some of you know some of our faculty who are here with us tonight. And we just want to take an opportunity to introduce you to some of our many wonderful faculty members. So I'm going to start with Heather.
Thanks, Julie. Hi, everyone. My name is Heather Frankowiak. I am a assistant professor in the social work department, and I'm also the MSW field director. So many of you have heard from me via email because everyone's super eager about talking about their field placement and field education in social work. I've also had the pleasure of teaching BSW field seminars. So if you're one of our BSW students, we've had class together for field, and so welcome and congratulations. Um, I just want to put out there that certainly tonight we won't be able to answer everyone's individual question about field placement. But I will talk a little bit about it, and you'll have plenty of opportunity to meet with me one-on-one to talk about sort of your unique circumstances and how we proceed with field. So thank you.
Thanks, Heather. Dr. Richards, would you like to go next?
Sure. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Congratulations. We're delighted that you're joining us this coming year. It's so exciting. I'm Julie Richards. I'm associate professor here and chair of the social work department. Many of you I know because you've been through our BSW program, but there's plenty of people I also don't know. So very excited to get to know all of you on a different and deeper level in this coming year. Thank you.
Thanks, Julie. Dr. Weldon, you want to introduce yourself next?
Sure. So Trisha Weldon, I also faculty, new to Plattsburgh, but have gotten to at least know some of the names of the people on the call. I taught an elective last semester for juniors and seniors and teaching social work 401. So I have a number of you in one of the three sections of that class. But I enjoy teaching both MSW and BSW, primarily teach in the direct practice focus. So I taught addictions, trauma, crisis intervention, all kinds of things. So I look forward to seeing you guys either in person, virtually, or some other way.
Thanks, Trisha. And last but not least, Donna, I can't see you, but I know you're here. So I have to
Here I
open
am.
out. Yeah, there you are.
Hi, everybody. It's so nice to see so many names and faces that I recognize from last semester. I'm so glad you are interested in joining us. I am a faculty member. I've taught BSW and MSW courses, and I typically teach more in the macro area, so courses like policy research and macro practice.
Thank you. All right, so that's some of our faculty, and you'll have an opportunity to meet more, and you'll have an opportunity pretty soon to meet with your advisors. Some might be on this call and some might not be. So, yeah, go ahead, Morgan, you can change it. Thanks. So we're going to talk a little bit about kind of like what the structure of courses would look like for you all. And then, Professor Frankowiak is going to talk a little bit about field. We're here tonight to kind of give you a broad idea of what you can expect for the upcoming year. And then we will, be meeting with you all, for your advisement and, here to answer any other questions along the way. But the first thing that we want to share with you tonight is that you have options. And it's important that you all think about those options because we recognize that everybody's path is different. Everybody's journey is unique and everybody's life demands are very individualized. So having said that, the first thing that we want to illustrate for you is that we have options for part-time and full-time pathways, whether you are accepted into the 60 credit 2-year program or the 30 credit advanced standing program. You can decide what is right for you. And some of the things that you want to think about when you're making that informed decision is, of course, based on, what you're juggling. If you're, working full time, you have family commitments, you have, other commitments, and also being able to balance the course load and your internship experience. So, starting with our 2-year MSW students. This kind of gives you an outline of what your first year would look like if you were going full time. So if you're going full time, it's all very kind of, blocked out for you. You'll see here, you'll have 5 courses in the fall and 5 courses in the spring. And one of those courses would be your field practicum, which is your internship. And I'm going to let Heather talk a little bit more about that once we go over the courses. You can fast forward. The field practicum, as many of you I think are already familiar, that is your internship that goes throughout the course of your academic year. You can change, thanks. And this is what your course load would look like in your second year of your traditional 2-year 60 credit pathway. So you can see again that it is 5 courses in the fall and 5 courses in the spring. So for those of you who are registered or you're enrolling in our online program, you can see next to some of these courses here, there's a little S for synchronous or an A if it's going to be asynchronous. We have 2 options for either pathway that you're choosing, 60 credit, 30 credit. We have 2 modalities that are offered. One is the online option that's starting this fall. And that is structured in a way so that some of the classes will be asynchronous, but as you can see from the little letters next to the courses, a lot of them are going to be synchronous. So we really value being able to, you'll get to know our faculty, you'll get to know that our faculty are we are relationally driven educators and that we really value getting to know our students. We really value the opportunities to have that face-to-face interaction. the ability to provide students with opportunities for, being able to do some self-directed work and, having some asynchronous time where you're working on things independently, but being able to also come back to class and just, have dialogue, have conversation, and, kind of toss out a question of, I was reading this, but, what really happens when this happens that sometimes always just can't get captured in like a discussion forum, or other kind of online assignments. So how that will be structured for you all is in the fall, there is going to be, and this is for whether you're 60 credit or 30 credit, how that will look in the fall is that we have designated one particular day of the week where classes will be held. And we did that so that folks can kind of plan for field, if you're going to be doing your field practicum, and employment and any other commitments that you might have. So most of the classes you'll see when you go to register for the fall will be held on Tuesdays. If you are choosing the in-person modality, they will be held at our branch campus in Queensbury. And how that will look is that every other week you will come to campus. You'll have that opportunity for the in-class, and then you'll have a Zoom class on some of the other weeks. So it kind of rotates, 1 week in class in person, one week online. Similarly, our online program is structured in that way, but rather than being in the classroom, you will be in a Zoom forum for many of your classes. So you'll attend the class via Zoom 1 week, and then you'll have some, online assignments for the other weeks. If you choose to go part-time for the 60 credit program, it would look more like 2 classes for the fall, 2 classes for the spring. These are what some of those classes look like. You can go to the next one. And then in your second year, you would be doing 2 courses. One is your seminar that coincides with your field practicum, which is your internship, and then you'd be taking a practice-based course. Okay, and then that would look very similarly in the spring. And in your third year, if you went part-time for your 60 credit program, it goes back to 2 classes for the fall, 2 classes for the spring. And then in your fourth year as a part-time student, you would go back again to taking a practice course that is that coincides with taking your field practicum and your field seminar for both the fall and the spring. Okay. And then for our 30 credit advanced standing students, whether you are online, when you're enrolled in online or in person, you have an option to take one summer class. It's not required, but we are offering it as a summer course that's optional for students who feel like, I'd like to lighten my load in the fall. I want to be able to kind of get my bearings and get, some people are coming back to school. Some people, aren't sure about the rigors and the time demands. So you have an opportunity, if you would like, to take psychopathology in the summer. And that will run for the course of the entire summer session. So it's going to run over summer sessions A, B, and C. So it starts roughly at the end of May and ends sometime in August. And it will meet on Thursdays, I believe. And then in the fall, so if you opt to take the summer class, then you would register for 4 classes in the fall if you are opting to go full time. And this is what they would look like. And you can see that all of those classes for the fall are listed as synchronous classes. So again, you would meet via Zoom 1 week, and then you would have another week where you'd be doing online assignments. Okay. And then in the spring for our advanced standing full-time, you would have 5 classes again. And that would include, again, your internship. Okay. And you can see that in the spring, some more asynchronous options open up. But your seminar class would still be synchronous. But a couple of others have options to take or will be taken asynchronously. If you choose to go part-time for the advanced standing 30 credit program, you still could take the summer class if you choose, the advanced in the psychopathology over the summer. And in the fall, you would have two classes, and in the spring, you would have two classes. And then for your year one and for your year two, you would be taking your field practicums, so your internship, your seminar, and a practice course. And then similarly in the spring, you'd continue with your seminar and your practicum, and you would be taking theories of organizational development in the spring. Okay. So let's talk a little bit. I just want to give an opportunity for field questions and just kind of an overview about what to expect for your practicums.
Sure. Thank you, Julie. Many of you I've sent information already, but I want to just reiterate a little bit about field placement. So we take a really hands-on approach in helping you secure a field placement that is going to work for you, that's in your area of interest, that is geographically going to work for you. And it's a process. So when we schedule our one-on-one meetings, it's really an ability to kind of work through that field application form that you filled out and get a clearer picture of what you would like for your field placement. And of course, based on my experience, helping kind of guide you. So for first year students, and so we would say the 60 credit program, you would be looking at 450 hours total of field placement hours, and that's spread out over the academic year. So it equals approximately 14 hours per week at a minimum, doing 200 hours in the fall, 200 hours in the spring, and 50 hours over the winter break. And then for our second year program, it's a 500-hour total. So when we say second year, that includes advanced standing, just so folks know or recognize that when you're part of the advanced standing program, you have come from a BSW accredited program, and so you've already sort of completed your first year. So there's a 500-hour total. It's about 225 hours in the fall, 225 in the spring, and 50 hours over the winter break, which is approximately 15 hours a week. Really what you should be thinking about is 2 full days a week, right, for field. We are flexible in our program in terms of your schedule. So we do not tell you that you need to be in field on Mondays and Fridays or something like that, right? Some programs do that. We, as you are having your interviews with field placements, we allow you to talk through what that schedule could look like with the placement. Again, for many, it's 2 full days. But occasionally there's a placement where they'd really prefer, or you would prefer, that you break up your field hours over the course of 3 days, and that really works for that particular placement. Or on occasion we're able to secure an evening placement or a weekend placement. And so I'm here to work with you on that. I know, again, everybody has their own individual sort of schedules and priorities. And, we work one-on-one to try to best meet your needs, while making sure that you're able to complete the hours and really master the competencies, right? You have an opportunity to do that through that field placement. And then I'll just mention that it's an hour a week of supervision by a social work supervisor. So that's something that, we vet and make sure that that's in place. And there's also an opportunity for employment-based field placement. A lot of folks are interested in that, and it's a great, opportunity that we have. It is a process to make sure that Again, you have the appropriate level of supervision for our accreditation standards and for our program standards. We want to make sure that you have an opportunity to, again, achieve all 9 of those core competencies, and that you're going to get, the learning experience that you want and need. So in terms of employment-based field, there is an additional application for that, which requires some signatures from your employment supervisors, your proposed field instructor. And so again, I'm here to walk you through all of that. It might sound a bit complicated, but we will definitely get through that. So just wanted to share that basic information with you. And if you haven't already, the first step for field placement is, once you've deposited for a program, is to complete the field placement application form. So if you haven't already or you need access to that, you can certainly let us know, and we'll make sure that we get that to you.
Thank you, Heather. I do see a question in the chat that I want to address before we move on to the next step. So somebody's asking if the online courses will be offered in evening hours. And thank you for that question. So there will be one course that will be offered in the evening hours, but for the fall schedule, the courses will be kind of scattered throughout the day. As mentioned, they will all be on Tuesdays. So students can essentially kind of block off that day and try to work their schedule around that. I will say that, as a faculty, we are mindful that many people are also working exploring how that might look a little bit different for the spring to try to be offering a few more evening classes. But for the upcoming fall, the schedule is such that classes will be stacked throughout the day on Tuesdays, and they will be, again, whether you're in person or you're online, they will rotate every other week where you're either coming to campus or you're logging into the Zoom class. And before we go into next steps, I just want to check in with the other faculty and see if anybody had anything else that they wanted to share or add to our. Okay, all right, go ahead, Morgan. Thank you.
And if some people have been putting things in the chat, please feel free to keep putting questions in the chat if you think of anything. So as far as next steps, obviously everyone here has been accepted. Some of the next things that you would want to do are paying your deposit. You can do that by logging into your admissions portal. It's a $250 enrollment deposit. That is due April 1st. That's important because that is what allows you to register for classes. So you want to be sure that you do that by April 1st. And then Dr. Pipenbring went over the courses that you would be registering for, but you can still contact your academic advisor if you have questions about what you should be registering for. Your academic advisor is named in your acceptance letter, and their email address should be there as well. And then you would also want to be registering for classes in April. Registration opens on April 4th this year. And just some other things too that aren't mentioned on the slide. You would also want to make sure that after you pay your deposit, you're able to access your My Plattsburgh portal. That's where you will register for classes, along with a lot of other things that you use the My Plattsburgh portal for. And you'll also want to make sure that you can access your Plattsburgh email. If you're not already a Plattsburgh student, you want to make sure that you start using that email address to communicate with the faculty. So graduate school costs for New York State students for 1 year is $13,080. If you are an out-of-state student, it is $22,650, and that is for 1 academic year, so a fall and spring full-time semester. We encourage everyone to still complete a FAFSA as a graduate student. You would want to do this because you might be taking out loans, you might be doing work study. There's a number of reasons you'd want to make sure you do a FAFSA. Some things that are different for graduate students are that you are no longer eligible for TAP and Pell. And another thing is that you no longer include your parents' information. It is only your own. And if you're married, you would include your spouses as well. We do have a few funding opportunities. A lot of these, the deadlines have passed, so I'll just touch on them briefly. We do offer graduate assistantships at Plattsburgh. You would need to be living in the Plattsburgh area to fulfill the work commitment of a graduate assistantship, but these are great opportunities to get some tuition coverage and stipend, as well as adding some great work experience to your resume. The graduate fellowship program, this is work study based. This application was due February 15th. If you happen to have applied, you can reach out to the supervisors of these positions to inquire about status. I think some people are probably just starting to do interviews for these positions. But again, this is funded by work study. You can get paid $20 an hour for these positions, and you can earn up to $12,000 per year. And then the Graduate Opportunity Program, again, this one, the application was due February 15th, but this is open to EOP, HEOP, and SEEK students. You must be a full-time student, and it's a very simple application that you just fill out, and your EOP director certifies that you're an EOP student, and it gets reviewed by a committee, and they distribute some awards. And I'm just going to go over some services that are available for graduate students. Some of these things might be more for people that are in the Plattsburgh area, but some of them are also for online students. So the first one is your ID card. Some people might not realize that graduate students should probably still have an ID card, but you should. They are used for a lot of things on campus, but they're also used for things like the library, to borrow materials, ordering books from the campus bookstore and other things like that. You can go online to the website, upload your photo, and the college auxiliary services will create your card for you. Dining locations, I won't go over all of them, but we have a lot of dining locations on campus if you are at the Plattsburgh campus. I'm not sure what's available at Queensbury. Do you guys have any dining options at the Queensbury branch campus?
So there is like a little cafe that just recently closed, but I think they're going to open into something new. And then there is a huge dining hall at ACC and SUNY Plattsburgh at Queensbury. We can use all of ACC's resources. So their library, they have a whole student center basically. So there are some things, but it's downtown Queensbury, so there's plenty.
Awesome. Thank you, Jessica.
Yeah.
We do still offer meal plans as well for graduate students. If you live on or off campus, you can have a meal plan as a graduate student. There's also a like lower cost one that was just created last year for grad students that's smaller, and it's just under $1,000 per semester. And then parking, this is again, just if you're going to be in the Plattsburgh campus, make sure you register your vehicle and get your parking tag and that you're familiar with where you can park on campus. And also make sure that if you are not on campus, that you are not paying for parking. Make sure you check your bill. And then our library, this is obviously the library is open to everyone, whether you're an online student or on campus, because there's a lot of things that you can access virtually from wherever you are. Another thing I want to mention is that the librarians will take appointments. So if you're trying to research something, you can make an appointment with one of the librarians or another staff member, and they can help you with your research if needed. But as you can see, there's, materials that you can borrow. They offer workshops. They are part of like the Google Drive, Google Docs, all of that stuff. The library can help with all of those things. And they also have a help desk if you have any questions. And then we do have graduate student housing. If anyone is interested in living on campus in Plattsburgh, you can do that as an online student. if you're someone that you're from the area and you're wanting to live on campus and be around other graduate students, you can definitely do that. There's a couple of halls that offer housing. Kent Hall has senior and graduate housing. They have suite style set up in that building. They also have the Kent Cafe in that building, which is really nice. And they have kitchens on each floor. And then another one is DeFriedenberg Hall, which they've taken the 10th floor and made that graduate student housing where you would have a single room in a suite style. So you'd have your own room and then you would share the suite with 3 or 4 other grad students. There's also a kitchen on the floor, and it's a pretty good location on campus as well. And then if anyone is interested in working for campus housing or community living, you would want to contact them directly because their applications were due in early February, but if they still have any positions open, you can email them about that. These are really great positions where you get a free single room and you get a discounted meal plan. And then you also get some experience working with students. And some people might have already done this in their undergrad, and you can continue to do that during your graduate work as well. And then the fitness center, if you do live in the Plattsburgh area, I would definitely encourage people to take advantage of the fitness center. Everything has been redone. There's all brand new equipment, and then it's only $85 a semester. If you're an online student and you live in Clinton County, I believe you automatically get charged for the fitness center, so you should definitely take advantage of it if you're up here. And they also offer a lot of group fitness classes too, which is really nice. And then we do have a large number of clubs on campus, which you can continue to be a part of as a graduate student. If you have interests where there is not a club, so if there's something you're interested in and you want to start a club, you can still do that as a graduate student as well. So please reach out to the Center for Student Involvement if you're interested in any of those activities. And we also have the Student Health and Counseling Center, which is on campus. Um, you would have access to counseling services, medical appointments. They also do lab work, immunizations. They can distribute some medications. And I think they might also offer some virtual counseling as well. So even people who are not in the Plattsburgh area could take advantage of that. And Accessibility Resources Office is our office that provides accommodations for students. So if you're someone who has had accommodations throughout your high school and undergraduate career, please reach out to our Accessibility Resources Office. They will help you get registered for services and make sure that you're getting the services that you need to be successful in your grad career. You can see that there's a number of different services offered and accommodations. So people who need extended test time or note-taking services, tutoring, all kinds of different accommodations. Please make sure that you reach out to them. Very important. And then I think this is my last one, is the Career Development Center. They are located in the College Center on campus in Plattsburgh, but they also will take Zoom appointments. You can also call to talk to them about different things related to career development. They can help with things like developing a resume and a cover letter. They can help you search for a job. They can do interview prep and do mock interviews with you. And you also continue to get their services once you're graduated and you're an alumni. You can always reach back out to them if you are searching for a new job, if you want to get some help with your resume later on in your career, you can always reach out to them again for help. So it's a great service to take advantage of for sure. I think, yes, that was my last slide. So that's it for me. I don't know if any of the faculty have anything else that they want to discuss or check out the chat at all.
I think we have some questions in the chat that
Great.
maybe can. One question was, I don't know if you know this, Morgan, when the FAFSA form is due.
I don't know when it's due, to be honest. That would be a good question for Student Financial Services, but it is open now and you can fill it out now. So I recommend the sooner the better.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
We have another question. that I can answer. Do you know the times of each class that is offered? Um, so we will talk about that in advisement. We'll go through and show you what the scheduling options are. But roughly, and again, depending on whether you're electing to go full-time or part-time, but they would start around 9 a.m. Some might start a little bit sooner, go through the afternoon, late afternoon, and then field seminar classes would take place in the evening, and the exact time is escaping me. I don't know if anybody else here has it committed to memory, Julie, if you're just
Yep.
immersed in that whole schedule.
I am, and I'm looking at it. I was actually just writing it down a
Oh,
little more
perfect.
organized than
Yeah.
my spreadsheet. So field seminars are happening in the evenings. Um, I wrote down the time wrong because I wrote 5 to 8:30. That's way too long. So it's 5 to 6:30 um, for the foundation year, the first year, and for the second year students, it's 7 to 8:30 at night. And those are on Zoom, though. Those aren't in person,
Yeah.
so that it gives people time to commute if they are on campus and
Yes.
get back. Because our classes that are on campus end by 4:30.
Yes. So like Julie said, for anybody who needs to leave campus, that way they can go home or get settled into a place to hop on to their Zoom class safely after that. There are breaks in classes, and you do have breaks in between some classes. Um, we don't expect you to be able to sit that long and all day. So yes, you will have breaks. And somebody asked to review the summer class will be in person. Um, and Julie, is there the option that they will be able to zoom in as well? I think there was that
I
email.
am not sure, actually. I
Yeah,
know, I think it's on, if I'm remembering right, that one I don't have in front of me, but I believe that our summer class is from 12 to 4 on Thursdays
yeah. And
and
it
taught like a workshop.
right. Yeah. And it will meet in our branch campus, Queensbury. We will get back to you about the option for, I think there might be an opportunity for some students to zoom in. So some students might physically be in the classroom and some students might be zooming into that class. And so somebody also asked for clarification about, how is this Tuesday working? So basically, if you think about, let's just pretend that you are an in-person student, right? We're going to say that you go to campus on, weeks A, and then weeks B, you would be Zooming into your class, right? So week A, you'd be in person at the branch campus. On the next week, week B, you would be Zooming into your class. For online students, you would be on week A, Zooming into your class. And then week B, you would be doing, online, traditional online asynchronous types of assignments. So that's how it would rotate every other week. Um, the longest duration of a class. So classes are typically 2 hours and 45 minutes, and field seminar classes are an hour and a half. And somebody is asking about carpool, and we can share that we had students do that this past year, carpooling down together. I think it was actually really nice for them. They're, kind of bonded and, were able to, have great conversation about the readings that they're going to be talking about in their upcoming classes. So, it was a really good bonding time for them, I think. So online class, it would be bi-weekly. Yep. Let's see, did I miss anybody's questions in here? Did we answer the question about tuition? I think there was one that came through.
Yeah, there's a question about out of
Out of
state.
state tuition.
So I know the out of state, I think as far as I know, the MSW program has its own tuition rate, which is a little different than our other tuition rates. So I think it is the rate that I listed in the presentation, but you can also reach out to Student Financial Services and double check that with them. They can be reached at sfs@plattsburgh.edu for any questions regarding tuition rates, and payments and things like that. So, so someone else asked about our loans are only option. Um, so loans I think are something that most students end up doing. You can pay some of your tuition out of pocket if you want as well. But some of the funding opportunities that I mentioned earlier are things that are available for Plattsburgh students. So like the assistantships and fellowships. Those are good sources of funding. I know like the application has gone by for a lot of those, but those are some of the ways that other students will fund their graduate studies. Is Plattsburgh partnering with the Caring Gene Scholarship? I'm not familiar with that scholarship. I don't know if any of the faculty are. No,
I am not.
that's not one that I'm familiar with.
There's another question about will the 4 courses for the online students in advanced standing be online on Tuesdays throughout the day? Yes.
And that's for the schedule for this fall, but we don't know yet what your spring schedule will be,
Mhm.
right? We're trying to do it so that you're just on campus one day, whether it will be Tuesdays in the spring semester. And I don't know if I'm confusing it, Dr. Piping Ring. Maybe we are all set where we're only doing Tuesdays, but I just wanted to
No,
bring
you're
that up to
correct. No,
mention that.
yeah. No, you're correct. That, that is how we are structuring it for this fall. And again, like I said, and as Dr. Richards is conveying as well, we are looking at that for the spring. And a- again, something that you will come to kind of learn about us, is that we do value our students' input. We do, kind of want to hear from you. And so we will be talking to you about, what would you like to see? What would be beneficial? It doesn't mean that we can make it all happen, but we value the input and we do want to, we want to be collaborators with our students. So we do have it on our radar for the spring to look at how we might be offering some more evening courses.
And I see another question there, asking if they would be able to plan their weeks out with their advisor with the goal of finding out how to properly manage their time with their other responsibilities.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's
Right.
something that, our advisors will, talk with you about. Um, and the other thing that I forgot to mention too is that we also have an academic success coach, Christopher Ryan, who works closely with our students, particularly our online students, is just an additional resource who's available to help, navigate resources, navigate Brightspace, and, also just sometimes has some really good inspirational words of wisdom around time management and things like that. So there are a wealth of supports outside of our department as well. Another question in here, I believe I applied for online only. Was that something I would have, oops, so many are jumping around, have clicked on within the application? No, you didn't. And I don't know if there's another question in there that you're wondering maybe now about taking in-person classes. Again, it's not too late. You're not locked into online if you're thinking about changing that. So that's something that you would talk about with your advisor. And then we would just have to coordinate with our grad admissions program because they might have certain things coded behind the scenes, and we'll make sure that when you register, you're coded for the right program.
Just wanted to add on to, when we were talking about planning out our weeks with our advisor, I think that's what most students are anxious about, right? Is figuring out what is my schedule going to look like for fall. What days and times are my classes, and when's my field placement, and how am I all going to make this work? And I think it's great that we're meeting, in March, right? And we're having these conversations. And in April, you'll be registering and really have some time to kind of put that plan in place. Your advisor is here to help you do that. We'll be working on your field placement so that hopefully you get that piece secured as soon as possible, and really I think have some comfort in kind of knowing what that plan is going to look like. And we always are upfront and honest, right? A graduate program is going to require, there's a level of intensity, right? In terms of the work and the field hours that we're putting in. And so, Dr. Pipenbrink had really talked about the flexibility of the program and trying to figure out, should I go part-time? Should I go full-time? Should I do fields this coming fall, and those pieces? So those are all things that, your advisors are here to support you with, and the program director and myself as the field director to kind of help support you.
Dr. Pipenbrink, can I add something to this
Please,
as I read
please
the
do.
chat? So I think, this is you guys are getting a lot of information thrown at you. I know some people are saying that they're concerned and surprised to hear that the online program is not going to be fully asynchronous like the undergrad program is. And I think, give yourself a little time to absorb that information, to reflect on it. But from the faculty perspective, we're going to try and take you guys to the next level. You're coming in with a set of skills, a set of knowledge from undergrad, which is great, but now you're coming for a master's degree in social work. And in social work, whether you do macro or micro, you're working with people. And we want you to be best prepared for that. And the way we're going to try and do that is by seeing you. Whether it be through Zoom, whether it be in person, whether it be through discussion threads on Brightspace, because we want to ensure that you're ready to be out in the field and to do good work. So that's kind of the method to our madness, as to how we're putting the program together. And I understand, I think all of faculty understand that you guys have lots on your plate and you're trying to sort it out. But I encourage you to really reflect on, what do you want from your education, and what will, yes, it will be a hardship and a hassle to do in person or do Zoom on alternate weeks. But hopefully the gains you get from that will far outweigh that in whatever your next career steps are. So just take some time to reflect before jumping to a decision of coming, not coming, something else.
Thank you, Dr. Weldon.
I actually have a question.
Sure, go ahead, Jessica.
When we schedule a time to meet with our advisor, I think I remember it seeing that it would be through Zoom. Is it possible to meet in person for that meeting, like in the Queensbury campus, or would you rather do Zoom?
I think that I would reach out to your advisor to coordinate that and ask them what might work and when.
Okay.
Okay, because it could be an option, I'm sure, but I can't speak for anybody else. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so how do you know if you're online or not? Um, well, if that's the program that you were interested in, there was a survey that actually went out, and students were able to respond to which program option that they would be interested in. So you probably responded to that. And then again, when you meet with your advisor, you would, confirm that you are looking to take your online courses. If an unexpected event occurs in our life, and let's say we don't complete the field hours before the end of the year, what do the consequences of this look like? Is there any grace period? Heather, do you want to?
Sure. So when you start field, it really is a commitment, right? That you are going to not just complete the hours, but complete the learning and the assignments. And it's a commitment to yourself, it's a commitment to the program, and it's a commitment to the agency, right? The field placement agency. Um, that is not to say, right, like things do come up on occasion, and we work very hard with our students to make sure that sometimes we have to be a bit creative, or yeah, sometimes there's circumstances where a withdrawal is necessary, but it's really very rare. So, leading into it, we really look to secure that field placement. It is for the full year. So your first year, if you're in the 2-year program, you would do a field placement at one agency for the whole year. And then the second year, you would have a different field placement. If you're advanced standing, it would just be the one field placement. Um, but we monitor your hours closely. We're kind of walking through the whole year with you with field placement. And so, um, we, for the most part, are able to really keep everybody on track.
Any other questions? There's another field question in here.
Yeah, that's a good question, Jessica. So, the general answer is that there's an employment-based field placement for 1 year, and that you wouldn't be able to do both years at the same agency. However, there are sometimes exceptions if the agency is a very large agency. We have some agencies in the area that are able to really provide two very, very different learning experiences based on just the size of the agency, their scope of practice. So it's definitely not unheard of. We usually like to make sure that the students are getting a completely different experience, because that makes you a much more well-rounded and marketable social worker. But it does happen on occasion. So,
Okay. Thank you.
mhm.
And yes, if any of you have any questions after the Zoom meeting, absolutely, please feel free to reach out. I'm pretty sure that everybody has my email address, and I'm happy to speak with you and meet with you and answer any questions that you have.
There's a question about if they're not able to accommodate every biweekly Tuesday for the online classes, is there a way to make up worker absences, or does a certain amount of absences automatically equal a fail?
So so I mean, we do have an attendance policy, right? And so, any student enrolling in any of our classes would have to adhere to the attendance policy. And so, what I would say is I think that this is a larger discussion for advisement and looking at what courses are offered that may work with your schedule for the fall, and taking it from there. Students will have an opportunity to know which which weeks they will have to be either Zooming in or coming into campus, depending on which program you are selecting, in person or online. So we'll give you the most information we can, and then after that, it becomes, a personal decision that has to be made.
Another question says, what kind of agencies offer the employment-based?
Yeah, so typically this is employment-based field placement is usually an option where you are already employed at an agency and have been for some time. And it falls within the human services realm. They have an appropriate supervisor, so an LMSW or LCSW that would be able to provide that required supervision. So usually it's an instance where you're already employed there. Um, and you would like to use that as your field placement, and then we have to make sure that it fits all of the criteria that's necessary. But I could definitely talk to you more, Alicia, one-on-one about that.
Another question is asking, what does preparation for our licensing exam look like?
It's a great question. So for all students to know, that we are, registered with NYSED, and so we have courses that are pathways for your licensure, meaning that NYSED will look at the courses that you took and say that they meet the educational criteria for you to be able to sit for the exam. So you will be covered for those classes, um, and the additional, education requirements that will be listed there. And then in terms of, if you're asking about any kind of like prep course that we do, we have in the past offered like a practice prep class that usually takes place outside of class time for students who are interested.
I don't see any other new questions that have popped in.
Okay. Well,
This might be, sorry,
go ahead. No, it's okay.
this might be a random and I don't know, redundant question, but so what is the difference between a licensed clinical social worker and just a licensed social worker? What is there a big difference?
There is, in terms of, and I'll ask others to help me out here too. There is in terms of certain insurances that you might be able to sit with for clients. You would be eligible once you graduate to take your LMSW exam. And then after that, you're required to accumulate a certain number of hours. I think it's 3,000 hours that you have to do of postgraduate work. And you also have to obtain clinical supervision for a certain number of hours as well. So all of that is basically saying that you've garnered enough practice experience to then be eligible to sit for the exam for getting your C, your clinical.
Clinical. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
There's another question about online students, and it says every other Tuesday we would be required to attend Zoom classes during the day. The alternating Tuesday, would we be able to log in at any time and do that coursework asynchronously?
So the alternating Tuesdays, yes, you would be able to do that on your own time. So whatever works for you for getting that, getting those, posts up or assignments in, yes. So if you think about it almost exactly as you explained it, right? Certain weeks will be asynchronous, will look very much like an asynchronous class, and other weeks you will log on to be synchronously connecting with your classmates and professor.
And another question is asking about if we've received accreditation.
So we have not yet. We are still in candidacy, and we had our site visit, which went very well, and we are very confident that we will be receiving accreditation. And let's see, what more can I tell you about that? The other thing that's the other thing that I can tell you about that is, it typically, well, let me back up a little bit for those of you who may not know. So, SUNY Plattsburgh had adopted a curriculum that formerly came from the College of St. Rose, which was helpful for our accreditation because it put us in candidacy, and it's an established curriculum. Typically, Council on Social Work Education does not. It's a very formative process. And so it's very rare that they would not move forward with accreditation. And we actually just got our review back, and we're very, very pleased with the results that we have in place thus far. So we
Then
are.
to follow up, Jess is asking when would we find out about the candidate about accreditation? Do we have a timeline?
We do and we don't. The CSWE Board of Accreditors will be meeting again in June. So I don't know, Dr. Richards, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I think yes, they are meeting in June, and every indication is smooth sailing ahead, and we should be all set.
Yeah.
And then someone's asking, I think this is referring to um, the employment-based field placement. It says, what if there's not an LCSW at your employer or at where you're employed?
Thanks, Morgan. I was just typing a response, but
Okay.
that's okay. I'll just say that I assume that that was about employment-based field placement, and again, we do have to make sure that there's an appropriate supervisor, and I can talk one-on-one with folks about that. Depending on, there's just a lot of circumstances that kind of fall into place around that. Sometimes there's a LMSW, sometimes there's an LMHC, sometimes exceptions can be made. Um, Sometimes with if you're part of a a large employer, but there's no LCSW in your exact department per se, you may be able to have supervision from someone from a different department at your agency. So there's just like a lot of nuances to that answer. And so, I can absolutely speak to that on a one-on-one basis.
Somebody was asking if online students have different advisors than in-person students. And no, our advisors advise across BSW, across MSW, in person, online. So. All right. Well, like we said, if you have questions, and I'm sure many of you will after tonight's call, let it sink in, and we are happy to answer any additional questions that you might have. You'll be meeting with your advisor soon, and they can also help you navigate some of the questions that you might be having as well. So we look forward to working with you and meeting with you, and hope you all have a great rest of your evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You. Thank you.